What is the meaning of life? The real question behind that question is, what's the point of suffering? Why suffer? Why slave away? Why go through pain, through heartbreaks, through trials? What's the point of it all? If God doesn't exist, then there is no point. Suffering is, well, there is just no point. And if there is no point in suffering, if suffering doesn't have a purpose, then what's the point of existing? There is no point in existing. The nihilist has the logical answer if God doesn't exist. But if God exists, then what is the point of suffering? The point of suffering is to purify ourselves, so to speak. Our Lord Jesus Christ gives us the answer to what is the meaning of life. Our Lord Jesus Christ says to love your God first and foremost, and also to love your neighbor. To love, that is the meaning of life. But it is not love in the way that Hollywood portrays love. This sappy, feel-good, fuzzy, sort of effeminate love, if you will. A love that has no sacrifice, that demands nothing, and pleases the senses. That is not love. Our Lord Jesus Christ personified love when he took the cross, laid down upon it, and allowed railroad spikes to be driven through his hands and feet. That is love. Love is suffering, and suffering is love, or at least when we suffer, we ought to suffer out of love. Even when we feel as if there is no point in that suffering, even when we feel dry, we have to place ourselves, or at least we should have the proper the Christian perspective, if you will. And the perspective is this: we are not greater than God. And yet Christ, God himself, the God-man, suffered an agony that is indescribable in any language for you, the individual, and not just for you, but for all of mankind. That is love, putting yourself at the end of it all, not at the first. The meaning of life, ladies and gentlemen, is not to live for the flesh, because the flesh wrinkles and it dies and it decays and it sags. And if that's the meaning of life, to pursue the flesh, then my God, that's vanity. The meaning of life, going back to the question, the purpose of suffering, is to glorify God. That is what our Lord Jesus Christ did upon the cross, and that is what we must do in our day-to-day lives.